Okay, aber wenn das seine realen Papiere sind, where does this leave us? Was sagt uns das? Now, let us return to the witness's testimony. Allora, this victim has nothing to do with us. You have a lot to answer for, Peppino. It's your fault that we got caught in the first place. Nothing to do with us. But we only have your word for that. See, but what else can we do, huh? True. Uffa, we are not having much of fun these days. First we are arrested, then we are shown the horrible picture of a dead man. And now you question every single thing we say? We are the victims here. Aye, Chopper? No, you were caught carrying out a plot to swindle hundreds of innocent people. You had to bring that up, aye? It's not fair. Aye, Chopper? Und sagt jetzt noch was. You have a lot to answer for, Peppino. It's your fault that we got caught in the first place. Hold it! What do you mean by that? Chavolo, you promised not to say. Aye, Chapo? After we had taken all the money that way, we should have left the country. That was my plan. I left the purchasing of the tickets for the ferry to Dunkirk to my companion here. But he bought them for the wrong day. Oops. See, but it's an easy mistake to make, huh? Easy mistake to make. And the 1st to 31st. Ooh, I have no sympathy for you. We were an whole day late for the boat because of your stupidity. And it's only because of this that the so-called great red-headed detective caught us. Chapo, you know what I think? This is the work of God. It's a holy punishment, aye? Peppino, for the last time. This is not only punishment. This is only your fault. Ah! Don't blame God for your unholy mistakes. You are making me sick with anger. Maybe I make a mistake, but when it's time to eat the pasta, no one is a faster. And I've seen the evidence. They haven't told us much we didn't already know. What do you think, Mr. Naruto? Well, if it was in the inspector's diary, it seems likely that he must have gone to Lime Street that day. And yet, these two both claim they didn't see him. I have to say, they don't appear to be telling lies. Well, they are experts in deception, don't forget. Sounding plausible is their specialty. They may be lying simply to avoid being implicated in this case as well. Surely if they were truly experts in deception, they wouldn't have been caught. Well, yes, you do have a point there. It seems to me like we need more information. Definitely. We had more than 1,000 red-headed people assembled in the park on Lime Street that day. But I don't recall the man in this photograph. Aye, Chopper? No, I don't remember him, and obviously he is dead now, but I assure you, he was not in the park. Oh, ich speichere nochmal. Weil es ist zwar offensichtlich eigentlich, aber ich möchte keinen unnötigen Penalty bekommen. Present.
Objection!
I wonder if I could ask you to examine this identification book very closely. Miss Lestrade! Why Miss Lestrade? What is your intention here, Counsel? Is this really a fake, or is it genuine? That's the question, which we can't answer ourselves.
Objection!
Don't be ridiculous. No Scotland Yard detective would allow his or her identification to be stolen. That is the boss! No question about it. It can't be! As I suspected. The undercover detective who attended the red-headed league's enrollment on the day in question was a real Inspector Gregson, carrying out an incognito investigation. Law! Süd, ach so. Oder Zü? Ich weiß es nicht. Das heißt irgendwas wie Shut Up oder so. Order! But If the boss had his identification stolen, he would have reported it straight away. I mean, he was always on at me about it. If you lose Summit, report it at once, he'd say. Could it be then that the inspector was physically unable to report it? Physically... What are you saying? Unable to... You're not suggesting. Yes, it's quite possible that he was killed before he had the chance to report his identification stolen. No! Order, order, order! The defense posits that the victim was killed the day before his body was discovered, at a different location. Do you two have anything to say about that? I know nothing! I done nothing! Pull yourself together, Peppino. Mon Dieu, you can behave a little more like a master criminal since that, not? No? Now I wish I had a return to Italian. Stop crying, Peppino, please. Otherwise Lemon! Stop your whining and start talking. Well, I believe the court will need to hear your story and I know nothing. I done nothing. But you will tell everything, or face the worst possible outcome. You will dry your eyes and testify again. About these identification papers, and the precise circumstances under which you came by them. For crying out loud. Witness testimony. The detective and the identification. The truth is, we took him prisoner and kept him for the night at our secret hideout. Even though I didn't think he was a real detective, I was too scared to let him go that day, just in case. We took the man's identification from him and shut him in the room next to ours. There might have been a little tussle, but we did him no harm, and the next morning we let him go. He spent the night in a nice room. It wasn't nothing like prison, really. Okay. This is outrageous. You imprisoned the man. But no, it was not like a prison, not like a prison. He was a very comfortable and a calm and a happy. Aye, Chapo? It was never a part of my plan. I swear. Uffa, so you think it was my fault? What? Just because I got the date of the ferry wrong, by one little a day. I do not think it was your fault, Peppino. I know it. No. Per favore, Chapo. It's not fair. You shall have plenty of time for squabbling back at the prison, gentlemen. Uff, I don't believe this. How could I have been a real detective? How could he have been a real detective? Counsel for the defense, proceed with the cross-examination. So on the day before the incident, Gregson spent the night confined in this pair's hideout. Ist das derselbe Raum, wie wo gefunden wurde, ist die Frage. The detective and the identification. The truth is, we took him prisoner and kept him for the night at our secret hideout. Hold it! Do you realize what you are saying? You have to believe me, I never intended for that to happen. And I'm sure the detective did not intend it either. Do you think? But there was nothing else I could do. See, nothing else. This was the first crime for the Chapo. He was at the end of his wits. I have told you before, Peppino, that is not the way to describe a criminal mastermind. What about this hideout? This hideout of yours? An old empty house behind the park on Lime Street. We rented the place for 2 days. It was an inspired idea by the Chapo here. An impulsive idea, I would say. No, not impulsive. Inspired. Aye, Chapo? Behind the park on Elm Street. Okay. What am I supposed to say to that, Peppino? And it was in the house described that you confined Inspector Gregson, was it? Oui. But you have to remember, I was under the impression that he was a pretender, not a real inspector. That doesn't quite add up though. If you didn't think the man was a real inspector, there would have been no reason to take him prisoner, would there? No, you are right, but we couldn't be completely certain. Even though I didn't think he was a real detective, I was too scared to let him go that day, just in case.
Hold it!
Too scared. Why? Because why had he come to the park? We didn't know. There was a chance that he had seen through my plan. And if that was the case, he would go straight to the police station to blow the whistle on us. Even if he was just a feigning to be an inspector, he was up to no good, Without a doubt that. I think most people would agree that it's you two who were up to no good. Well, see, you may be right. Aye, Chapo? The point is, we were not able to escape from England immediately. That is why we had no choice but to take the man prisoner. What I don't understand is why the inspector felt the need to show you his identification in the first place. See, I asked myself the same question. We are writing down the names and addresses of all the people who we took 5 shillings from that day. I have forgotten what name he said, but the address, it startled me. CC, address Scotland Yard, Homicide Division, he said. What? He probably didn't like your face, Peppino. Anyway, I was not rude. I just politely asked him why he had said it. And that's when he started to say he was an inspector. Not long afterwards, he took out his identification. What was Inspector Gregson playing at? Und warum hat er das als Adresse genannt? Wohnt er da oder was? Hat er keine eigene Wohnung? Tell the court what happened next. Oder wohnte. Jetzt will er ja nicht mehr wohnen, wo auch immer. You took him back to your hideout, you say. See, we did it. We took the man's identification from him and shut him in the room next to ours.
Hold it!
That being this identification book here, correct? See, that is the one. What made you believe that it was a forgery? I never seen a real one, of course. But he was so suspicious, this man. Allora, I was thinking, it must be false though. Aye, Capo? Chapo? Oui, it is just as Peppino has said. We were convinced it was not genuine. And so together, the hilarious brothers, we took the man captive. The hilarious. All we did was shove him inside a locked room. Then we made preparations to transport all of the money. In for a penny, in for a pound. There might have been a little tussle, but we did him no harm, and the next morning we let him go.
Hold it!
What do you mean by a little tussle exactly? Boff! It was nothing, just a minor incident. The Firestone Inspector, he was a real piece of work. Aye, Chapo? What happened? Uffa, it was a disaster. We give him a nice room, and what does he do, In the middle of the night, he tries to escape it through the ventilator. Can you blame him? We chased him, bien sûr, and we caught him again. Can you blame us? Wait, you didn't shoot the man in your haste, did you? Zut! Who do you think we are? Of course not. I simply caught hold of him again and took him back to the room. Excuse me? Mr. De Rossi, is something wrong? I? Me? Something Mr. de Rousseau just said seemed to make you, well, it seemed to make you act even more strangely than usual. What was that all about? Cavolo, at times like that, you don't want to have the Chapo after you, believe me. And I speak from a personal experienza. Personal experience. That is enough, Peppino. There's no need to say more. The truth is, the night before we put the red-headed league plan into action, I was scared. It was not fair to the Chapo, but I tried to run away. It's a shame you didn't manage it. But the Chapo here, he came after me like the turbine. And he dragged me back to the house, kicking and screaming. I still have the bruise to prove it. Aye, Chapo? Bruises, you say? Ah, you wanna see, huh? You wanna see my fantastical bruises? Oh, eine Wunde hier. That's enough now, Peppino. No one wants to look at any part. Das hatte doch auch der Gossip, der Straßenhändler. What are to do, huh? I assure you, I don't. I assure you, I don't. You do, now. Allora, if everybody wants to see, then I do it. Echo, you see? It's still very visible, aye? That red ring around your neck. You got that when you were dragged back to the house. See, the Chapo sometimes is very rough, and I said that's enough. Peppino's neck has nothing to do with what we are talking about here. You have my word. Yes. What is your opinion, Counsel? About this red ring around Mr. De Rossi's neck? I wonder, does it matter? It's important. Mr. De Rossi, I'm going to have to ask you to amend your testimony with details about that mark on your neck. Aye, Chapo, you see? Everyone is interested in what I say, huh? Very well, you will amend your testimony as requested, Mr. De Rossi. See, if you really wanted to know. He tried to escape, but the Chapo put the collar on him and dragged him back, like what he did to me, see? The collar, also ein Halsband.
Hold it!
Are you saying that red mark was caused by... See, a big collar made from the leather. A leather collar. Is this true, Mr. de Rousseau? What? We had a St. Bernard at home when I was younger. It is a souvenir from that time, with a very strong chain. A strong chain. And you put that around your friend's neck. I'm sorry, I was so angry that he was leaving me alone. You did not have to tie the chain to the leg of the bed, though. I would not have tried to run again. You didn't do that to Inspector Gregson as well, did you? Treat the people equally. It's Chapo here's motto, eh? It's starting to sound a lot more like a prison all of a sudden. The Chapo is a tough, but the Chapo is a rough. I shouldn't have done it. So, the following morning, when you released the inspector, he had a red ring around his neck, just like me. Peppino, s'il vous plaît, leave it now. Now you know, huh? The Chapo here, you don't want to tangle with him, aye? But for the inspector, it's not so bad. He spent the night in the nicer room. It was nothing looking like prison really. Well, he tried to escape, but the Chapo, Nee. Falsches Foto. Auch falsches Foto. Richtiges Foto. Man sieht hier nicht wirklich was, ne? Schade. Okay, he tried to escape, but the chopper put a collar on him and dragged him back, like what he did to me, see? Ja. Okay, wir speichern mal kurz. Dann ziehen wir mal das Foto.
Objection!
Und scheinbar ist es richtig, auch wenn man da nicht so viel sieht. So the day before his body was discovered, Inspector Gregson was taken prisoner while working incognito. No, it was not like that. It was hardly a prison. It was an invitation to stay. It was only. However you describe it, there's one glaring inconsistency that remains. What inconsistency is this, counsel? I would ask the court to look closely at this photograph of the victim, Inspector Gregson. You will see that there's no red ring visible around his neck. Eh? But that makes no sense. It was me who took the collar off the man in the morning. And I saw the red bruises on his neck, just like I have. Given that the mark is still clearly visible on this witness's neck, we'd expect to see bruising on the victim, who was put in the collar more recently than Mr. De Rossi. Indeed, that is most peculiar. But what we tell you, eh? We say this from the beginning. Many times, Das war nicht derselbe. Oui, Peppino is right. The man in the photograph. He is someone different to the man we held captive that night. Order! It would appear then that on the day before the incident, the man who visited the park on Lime Street posing as an incognito inspector was not Inspector Gregson at all.
Objection!
If that's true, however, how do you explain the inspector's identification? This genuine identification book, issued by Scotland Yard. It's inconceivable that someone could have stolen such an important item from the inspector. This prosecution made that assertion itself. And we also know that the inspector had made a note about the red-headed leak in his diary for that day. Which surely means we can't divorce the two events completely. The inconsistency noted in the defense is most troubling. If it was the real Inspector Gregson whom these two red-haired gentlemen encounter, the fact that no bruising can be seen around his neck defies explanation. But equally, if they actually encountered an imposter, how did that person come to be in possession of the real Inspector's identification? Does the defense have some plausible explanation, counsel? The whole thing defies explanation. It is for precisely these occasions that we keep meticulous notes in the court record, Mr. Naruhodo. Because those are the facts, and the facts cannot lie. No, the facts can't lie. Even when the point to something is so incredible, it's almost unbelievable. Well, my lord, the true identity of the person who turned up in the park for the Red Hells League enrollment is revealed by information in the court record, I believe. Good gracious! Is this their gossip? Very tantalizing, Mr. Naruhodo. So why don't you help us all to see whatever truth it is that you've apparently seen? Who exactly was this inspector that appeared before Mr. De Rousseau and Mr. De Rossi? Pellup, Fresno. Ich speichere mal. Ein Imposter. Though it seems incredible, I admit, the undeniable facts point to only one thing. Since no bruising can be seen on the victim's neck, the person who these two red-haired men took prisoner that day cannot have been Inspector Gregson. In other words, your whole argument up to now has been a waste of time.
Objection!
On the contrary, I haven't finished. What? There's no bruising on the victim's neck, so the question immediately posed next is, who exactly was this man in the park on Lime Street found to be carrying Inspector Gregson's identification? See, See, that's alright. We tell the same story every time. Whoever this man was, the Chapo dragged him from a pillar to a post with a dog collare. Mon Dieu, Papino, I was not so harsh as you say, eh? So who was that falso inspector, eh? Who was he? Clearly, the defense has an idea about that. About the true identity of the man these two imprisoned that night. I must ask the counsel for the defense to elaborate post-haste. Who did the witnesses encounter in the park posing as Inspector Gregson? Es muss Gossip gewesen sein. Ich bin mir jetzt relativ sicher, dass es Gossip gewesen sein muss, weil auch so eine Wunde an seinem Hals hatte.
Take that!
Goodness me. Isn't that one of the witnesses who was in the stand in this very courtroom earlier today? A nameless man whose only occupation appears to be peddling hearsay to passers-by.
Objection!
What on earth would a street seller be doing with a police inspector's identification papers? Witnesses, is this the man or not? What has happened to his lip? Ah! See, this man is not for the red-headed league, aye? He's looking for the twisted lip league, no. Perhaps rather than making such a rash claim next time, you should bite your lip instead. It seems improbable, yes, but one undeniable fact remains. During his testimony earlier, I noted something around the man's neck. A red ring of bruising. Eh? What? The defense demands that Mr. Gossip be brought back to the stand. Order, order! Bailiff, bring the aforementioned witness back into the courtroom. Immediately. Well, I never. An undeniable ring of bruising indeed. And identical to that of the witness beside him. Now what's going on here, eh? I've always had this, me. It's a birthmark, isn't it? A birthmark, you say? I assume the reason you've been recalled to the stand has been explained to you. Something about an inspector again. But I'm telling you, you've got it all wrong as usual. You're denying all knowledge of it. Well, of course I am. Are you trying to kill me with all this nonsense, eh? Well, at least you'll have more stories to peddle back on Fresno Street, won't you? Now, we're going to need you to testify again. And you, Mr. De Rousseau and Mr. De Rossi, I'm sure you'll cooperate, won't you? Do we have any choice? We are in a big trouble, aye, Chapo? That's quite enough, dilatory chatter. Proceed with the testimony. Okay. Ich würde sagen, ich mache hier erstmal einen Break für die Aufnahmesession, weil ich gleich los muss. Wir machen das also nächstes Mal. Gucken wir, was der Typ zu sagen hat. Genau, also wir haben jetzt quasi established, dass, wie heißt er? Dass Gregson seine Papiere verloren hat und quasi jemand anderes auf dem Markt war und von den beiden entführt wurde. Und dieser Person könnte vielleicht der Dings sein. Der Gossip. Wenn das nicht wirklich ein Muttermal ist. Genau. Und ansonsten würde ich sagen, bedanke mich fürs Zuschauen, bedanke mich fürs dabei sein und wir sehen dann beim nächsten Mal, wie das Ganze weitergeht. Bis dahin, ciao, ciao, tüdeli und Einspruch.